Hi guys, what I want to show you today is an easy pan pizza recipe. And when you see how this goes together, I think you're going to agree that it really is easy. I have a variety of bags of flour out as well as my canister of my all-purpose flour. And I just have that out for you to see the different kinds of flour that you can purchase. This recipe said that you can use bread flour or all-purpose flour. And I happen to have a little bit of bread flour left that I want to use up. So I'm going to use that. And if it's not enough, I will add some all-purpose flour to it just to get the amount that I need. My recipe gives me two different measurements. You need 1.5 cups of flour or 6.3 ounces. And I'm going to go ahead and weigh this because we've talked about this and I just want you to see how you go about doing this. So I have a scale. And if I just turn it on and I put my bowl on here, it's telling me my bowl is 2 pounds, 3 ounces, but I need to zero that out. And so I just click a button and it does that. That's called tare, T-A-R-E. And so it just zeroes out the weight of the scale so that it does not account for the weight of the bowl as it's measuring my flour. So I'm going to put this bread flour in here. And I need a little over 6 ounces. So, I guess I could have opened that up a little bit more and got a little bit more of that out. There we go. So I have that. And that's 4.25 ounces, but I need 6.3 ounces. So let's finish that with some all-purpose flour. All right, there we go. I actually just need a touch more. There. And that's our 6.3 ounces. All right, to that flour, I am just going to add, believe it or not, only 1/4 teaspoon of yeast. I had to go double check. I even went and searched the internet and double checked the recipe, and that's all I need is 1/4 teaspoon. I need 3/4 teaspoon of salt. And I'm just going to give this a mix. And then to this, I'm going to add 3/4 cup cold water. That's all the ingredients for this crust. And so we're going to stir this up. And remember, it's not a quick bread, it is a yeast bread. So we want to stir this dough. And we're going to mix it up. Get all of our flour off the side. And that is all we need to do. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to just scrape the dough off with a spatula. And we are going to cover this with some plastic wrap. And I'm doing the long recipe. That's why I use the regular active dry yeast. And this is going to just sit on my counter overnight. And tomorrow I'm going to come back and I'm going to turn this into a pan pizza. So I'll see you tomorrow. Welcome back. A lot has happened since since I left you last. A couple of things. You'll see some pictures. I went ahead and added flour to my dough after it had sat 12 to 18 hours. And I stirred the flour just until the dough became a ball. And then I put it in the pan as it stated to do. And the pan is greased. And just spread it out. And then I covered it and I let it go for another hour, a little over an hour. And it suggests that you go 1 to 2 hours with your dough in here to allow it to rise a little bit. And that is where we are. I have my oven preheated to 500 degrees And now we're ready to put our sauce and our cheese and our toppings onto the pizza. The sauce, you have the recipe for. I went ahead and made it last night and let it sit overnight. I added a little water to it today, just mixed it up with a fork just to get it so that it wasn't so thick. And so now what we're going to do is we're just going to put the sauce on here. And you're just going to kind of, this is a little different than normally. If this pizza crust or the dough is not so gooey as it is, you would just plop some sauce in the middle, take the bottom of your ladle and just work it out. And this dough is very different and you can't quite do that. So what I'm going to do is just put some of the sauce around and then I'll work on spreading it out. The reason why this dough is different is because we didn't let this proof the way that you normally do. This is a cold rise method. And so your dough is going to be different in the way that it handles compared to other types. All right, so as I'm just kind of spreading this around, we want to be aware that, remember, we don't want too much sauce, too many wet ingredients, because that can cause this to get soggy. But we have another option of what we're going to do to keep that from happening, or to try to help prevent that. All right. And just by lightly moving the ladle around, it is helping quite a bit in spreading out that sauce. So that's a good thing. I do want just a little bit more over here. I feel like we're missing some. And maybe just a little bit over here. All right. Oh, that's much better. Okay. And let's just tap that good and get that last little bit. Oh yeah, that'll be really nice. All right, so pepperoni and cheese. Do you put your cheese on first or do you put your pepperoni on first? It's really up to you. All right, so you can use different cheeses. My family prefers mozzarella. Sometimes a little provolone can be nice. If you have some fresh Parmesan, you can grate some of that on as well. I think that probably a lot of us, oh my goodness, this is not so easy to open. Let's see. I think a lot of us probably like our cheese on our pizza, but you do have to be careful that you don't put too much on, because you really can put too much and it can keep your crust from browning. All right, that's looking pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and put some pepperoni on here. I made this recipe a few weeks ago when I was trying it out, and I went ahead and had, I had yellow sweet peppers, bell peppers, and orange, red, and I just chopped those up. And as the one of the videos that you had to watch shows how you can take your ingredients and prepare them to get out as much of the moisture as possible, and that really helped. And I did that with the onions as well, but I don't have those in my fridge right now, so we're just going with what I have, and that is pepperoni and cheese. Kind of makes me think about my childhood, because that used to be our go-to pizza growing up, because we really didn't know about anything else you could have on your pizza. All right, and I forgot to grab my little cloth for my hands, so let me just grab that real quick. Okay, and I can see one area, maybe I won't be grabbing that, my hands are a little bit wet, here we go, that has no cheese. And I just want to go ahead and get some on there. It's right around the edge, kind of easy to miss when we're putting our toppings on. All right, so what's different about this recipe? It tells us that we're going to take this to the stove. We're going to turn our burner on, and we're going to heat this skillet up, because it's a cast iron skillet. And we're going to cook it for about 3 minutes on the stove before we put it in the oven. I just want to draw your attention to what the directions say because it's important to know when we go to set our timer. It says that after we cook this on the stovetop burner on medium-high heat for approximately 3 minutes, we're going to put it in our oven that's between 500 and 550 degrees or whatever your hottest setting is on your oven. And it says to bake it for about 15 minutes. And then in parentheses, it says start checking at 12. I want you to think about what we've learned in here and what we need to do with our oven timer. Our oven timer doesn't have that ability for us to say, oh, 15 minutes, start checking at 12. We're going to set it for 12 minutes. And then if we need to add more time, we will indeed do that. All right, so I'm just going to put this at medium-high temp. And I'm going to move this. This was my lid for my sauce. We don't need that right now. I'll just put it over here because it's going to go back on the sauce. The reason again for this is we need to get this skillet good and hot. This is going to also start the cooking process on the bottom of our dough. We want a nice crispy crust on the bottom. If we just put this in the oven, it's not going to have the opportunity to heat the pan up like it needs to in order to do that. So it's just a little different way of doing a pizza. This is going to be a pan pizza style of pizza. And as you're heating it up, you can actually start to see a little bit of the oil around the edges because the skillet was greased with some oil prior to putting the dough in. You can see it's little tiny bubbles. So you know that it is heating up. So once we get this done, we'll put it in the oven and I'll set my timer for 12 minutes and then I'll start checking to see how it's doing. When this is nice and golden brown on top and the cheese is starting to bubble, or your crust is golden brown on top and your cheese is starting to bubble and you can see your toppings bubbling, then you got a pretty good idea it's done. And you can always take your spatula and just check the bottom before you pull it out to see if you want to let it go another minute or so. So I'm going to let this go for just another couple minutes. I'm going to pop it in the oven, and when I bring it out, I'll show you the final product. Oh my gosh, here it is, guys. Isn't it beautiful? The one thing I do want to do first before I even show you anything with the pizza, this just came out of a 500-degree oven. Cast iron is hot. Any skillet, any dish coming out of the oven is hot. This has handles, and it's really easy to go ahead and grab without even thinking. And so I'm going to do that just as a prevention. Ask me how I know. I learned it the hard way a long time ago. So we're going to do that. You can also buy little silicone handle grippers that go on after you pull this out of the oven so that you don't burn your hand when you go to touch it, although you still want to use a hot pad. All right, here we go. This looks lovely. It has just been going sizzle, 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 and I'm going to bring it right over here and put it on the cutting board. And you want to let it just sit a moment before you cut it because you need the cheese to just kind of settle. You know, when you go get that first scoop of pizza, the first slice, how it's all stringy, usually because they bring it right to you right after it comes out. So here we go. We want to cut this, and I want you to listen to the crunch. That is not burnt pizza either. Oh, nice. Oops, I gotta watch out my hand there, right? So I'm gonna do this. Oh, look at that. Oh, let's just put this right here. You grab a plate. Oh, this is lovely. And let's take a look at the bottom. Look how nice and golden it is. It's not soggy. It's gorgeous. Now this is just way too hot to taste. So while I just let this cool a moment, I just want to tell you, you guys have no idea what goes on behind the scenes when we're doing these demonstrations. Number one, I got to clean my kitchen. I got to make sure it's clean. Number two, my pot rack right here. It's got to be clean. And all my pots have to come off of it because they get in the way of the video. And so all my pots or my hands are piled up on the kitchen table. It's a hot mess. And then when I have to turn the camera off, we are over here at the sink doing some big time dishes because we need to get them washed and dried because I generally need that equipment for the next part of the recipe or for another demonstration that I'm doing at the same time. I do it because I love doing it. I want you guys to experience as much as you can while we're in this unique situation. I want to take the lemons and turn it into lemonade and give you the opportunity to experience as much as you can. And honestly, I'm doing more demos with a variety of recipes than I'm able to do in the classroom. So this is kind of a bonus. Also, I just have to give a shout out to my husband because he's behind the camera. He's doing the sound. He's found the microphone for me to use so that you can hear me better. He does the pictures. He's my sous chef. And he dries the dishes. And he also preps everything and gets it ready prior to me even beginning. So you know what? It takes teamwork. It really does. And I just thank you for you taking the time to watch this. And I am thankful you're in my class. You all are a blessing. And I just hope that you will find a recipe you like and that you will enjoy the process and have fun in the kitchen. And remember to put a little heart into everything you make. Thank you. Oops, the beauty of the camera. I forgot to taste this to let you know how it is. Ooh, 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 hot. I love making my own sauce because I get to add the flavors for what I really like. And with it sitting overnight until today, the sauce really had a chance to really flavor with all those herbs, and it's delicious. The crunch on the crust, I really like it. I hate soggy, wimpy pizza crusts. This is great. This was really cool because I didn't have to fuss with the dough in a pizza pan, so that was kind of a fun thing, even though it took a while for it to, for the proofing to occur. But there is a fast recipe on this pan pizza, so take a look and make sure you read it. But this is good.